Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Show Recap Podcast. I'm TyJon Charlie. It's been a few weeks since I've done solo podcasts, so I have a lot of shows, a lot of catching up to do on shows, and it's mainly what I'm going to be talking about, going all the way back to July 7th at Ollie Ann's in Dwight, which is kind of a weird situation in the fact that the Sunday they kind of needed somebody to pick up, and I did, and I was already booked for the 7th, so I played Sunday and Friday, kind of a back-to-back, but not, because, separated by the whole week. It was just kind of a weird feel to be at the same place twice, because as musicians, that's not something that happens a whole lot anymore. I've heard stories of, back in the olden days when they would, a band would pretty much just do a whole weekend in a spot, and then the place would put them up. I guess I've done that at Kilkenny's in Davenport back in the day, but that's the only place I've ever been heard of doing that currently. But so and those olden days that was kind of a regular thing. So it would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you just have that, and then you'd go off to the next place maybe the next weekend. There's residencies and stuff like that as well, but anyway, so kind of because it wasn't quite that, it was a Sunday and then a Friday, so it's just kind of a weird feel ultimately for me. And the Sunday show was one of my favorites of the last months. That whole weekend was just fantastic, so it was hard to maybe meet that expectation because it's a rainy Friday, and it's not exactly like a beer garden outside, but it has little spots where it's just the ceiling's exposed, or not exposed, it's just no ceiling, and it rains through, and so it's like a covered beer garden, but it feels very indoor at the same time. So the rain might have stopped a few people. The fact that I'd played there so recently might have stopped a few people, and then it's just a slow night, just one of those nights, you always run into those where there's really nothing you can do. I mean, not with my name anyway. I can't bring, people a running necessarily. But anyhow, so it was a slow night. I tried some weird stuff. I played some songs I hadn't played in a while, so that was kind of fun. Did a lot more originals than I might have done. And, it sounded pretty good. And, yeah, and not much else that I can totally remember about that show. It was a little bit immemorable, which seems like a negative thing to say, but it's okay. I showed up, I did my thing, played it was a 4-hour set, it was a long one, to a few people. So hopefully they enjoyed it. I had a good time. And then the next night, Saturday, I was at Last Call in Penfield, and I was kind of under the impression this would be an outdoor show because they have a nice back area, but it was really busy when I got there, and it seemed like they were a little bit understaffed. So I think the thinking was that they wouldn't have enough people to help all the people outside, and they weren't really sure the state of things out there in more ways than one. And it had rained a little earlier, I guess, but anyway, I'd played indoor before there, so it was no big deal to me. And I was just it's a very tiny, it's kind of very, very small bar, so it was really trying to not get crazy with the volume. And I think I succeeded. It was at first it was a bit like the dinner rush, so it was kind of busy, and those people kind of filtered out, and eventually I was down to not very many people, and then this huge table came in, and it seemed like they were kind of ready to have a good time, ready to party, and that's always a pleasant surprise, because I was sounding pretty good, so I kind of was thinking oh, this might turn around a little bit, and it certainly did. Some fantastic, it was a table of maybe a 10 top or something, and they were I think very pleasantly surprised that there was even live music, and I tried to kind of cater my set list to things they would enjoy, and then try to pepper in some, original stuff too. I was doing the one-man band setup, but everything was like so tapered back. And there was a point at the end. It's like, yeah, it was a good night. And then I still had about a half hour left, and they were kind of taking off. And I was like, well, I'll give it a few minutes. If I was talking to the bartender, and it paid me till 10, so I was like, oh, in case people pop back up, everything's set up, I'm feeling good. I'll just practice a few songs. Why not? Kind of just play it lightly in the background, just feel them. Sometimes with the new songs that you're either learning or writing or working on, it's like you just need to feel them through like a PA system, and just kind of, I don't know. It's just a different type of singing through a PA system. I think that's what it all boils. Trying to capture everything is it's a conundrum. With microphones, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Microphones. I play a lot where I'm just unplugged, and I'm really used to playing like that. But then you throw a microphone, and it's like, okay, well, I've done that enough times that I should be okay at it. And I get by, I suppose, but it is a different. So like when you first are writing or learning a song, it's like good just to kind of feel how they feel in the PA system, and maybe take some mental notes for when you're either writing it continuing to completion, or you're learning a song. You're like, oh well, I definitely overshoot those notes, so really pay attention and really like make mental notes when you're practicing, like this is the spot I need to kind of taper back anyway. And then what happened was, to make a long story longer, the like three or four, it was like 3 or 4 came back in from the tent top, and they were like, well, we just kind of felt bad to just leave you here. We were having a good time, and you're only playing for a little longer, so we'd come back in and just continue to. And it was just so nice that they even cared at all. Not something that necessarily happens a whole lot, but anyway. And then they were talking about maybe coming to some of my other shows. They got my card and some dates and stuff as far as when I'd be back in the area. It was just really nice, and made me feel pretty good. That Monday I was at the Bomb Site recording studio, not too far from my place, and working on the new song. And I don't know whether I'm gonna call it mangled. That's kind of something that's popped into my head for the songs, to say that a couple times, or if it's maybe Wolf's suggestion is Premonition Man, or just Premonition is better. If you have any thoughts on that, let me know, and which one I should go with, if you like Mangled as a title, or Premonition Man better or worse. But anyhow, so I was and I got to lay down a bunch of cello parts, and that was really fun. I don't get to play the cello very often, and I pretty much have no business playing the cello, but it's fun, and I can make it sound okay enough, I think. I don't know if it's definitely not up to snuff as far as somebody like went to school for it and stuff, but it's kind of a fun hobby that I don't get to really use as a form of expression very often. So it's nice when I got to use it for Ryan Wolf's song Counting Sheep. So pretty excited about that. And it was kind of funny. I tuned it in a way to make it work for that song, and then this song I was writing happened, E major, not any crazy key, so it's a pretty common key. And so I'd already had the cello kind of tuned in more like a C sharp, I guess. Everything just kind of up a half step, just to make it fit a little bit better. Or it'd be, I actually did it really weird. I did C sharp for the low string, and then I did just A, I think, for the next string, and then the next string C sharp again, so the octave, and then G sharp for the high string. So yeah, it was kind of a weird tuning, but it kind of made it make more sense playing his song. And then, you know, I wrote this song on this like really low tuned guitar that is tuned to C sharp standard, and you know, so it just made sense to kind of keep it in that same tuning, and I was kind of comfortable. So I don't know. Some of the stuff has sounded really cool from that, and it's a weird song, but I like it. And I spent all, it was funny. I don't really get, you know, I do like 4-hour sets a lot, 3 to 4 hour sets, and doing the one-man band's pretty active, and I don't usually have any physical problems with, but for some reason holding that elbow up and that playing the cello like that, I had like a little bit of a shoulder pain. But it was like 5 hours, and I don't, you know, play enough to build up those muscles. But anyway, I'm excited for y'all to hear that one. And again, if you like the Premonition Man, or you like the title Mangled, you know, let me know. I need to figure it out. So, and then, so that was that Monday, and then Wednesday I was over at Schooners the following Wednesday, just kind of beer garden type show here in Bloomington, which was kind of nice. Didn't have to travel, and 3-hour set over there, and you know, I felt pretty good about it. It was decently busy night. It wasn't like crazy or anything, but a few tables, and I got some good leads on some other places that might be interested in having me at some point. So that's cool. So maybe some new spots here in town. And I mean, you know, it was like a B for me as far as how I felt like I performed, but I was getting good feedback, so I mean, I must have sounded all right. I don't know, but I never know whether I'm being too hard on myself, or if I really do I need to be that hard on myself, or, you know, is that what makes me better ultimately, just always being hard on myself? I don't, but you know, maybe I need it. I don't know. It's so hard to judge your music objectively. So some nights I feel like it's not very good, and some nights I feel like it's great, but there's a whole spectrum in between there. So I guess giving it a B, you know, upper half. I don't get a lot of F's, I don't think. I hope I don't get a lot of F's, but I've had some C's, definitely had some C's. And anyway, so you know, B plus maybe, good on my end, you know, not talking about the crowd at all, but it was a fun show. I thought there would be some good clips from it. I set the camera up a little bit too close to my fan, so it looked really cool that night once the sun went down. So I was like excited to have some clips from that, but yeah, didn't think the setup on that out well enough. But anyway, so it was a good show. Ryan Wolf and Alex Gerard and a couple other people I knew came out, and it was a fun night for a Wednesday. You know, what do you normally expect on a Wednesday? I don't know. And then 2 shows that Friday. I was at Vermilion Beer Company, or Vermilion River Beer Company, I think that's what it's called, in Danville. And that was like a day show, kind of 11 to, I want to say 11 to 1:15 or something, or 11:30 to 1:30. That sounds right, 11:30 to 1:30. And pretty slow start, but there was a little crew of people there right away, so that, you know, at least I was playing that early is just hard. And I think one of the owners came out and was like, yeah, the food truck hasn't been able to open the last few ones, so it's, you know, it's kind of crapshoot. But there was a little group of people right away, maybe 5 to 7, and then after they kind of wandered off, there were a couple other little, but I mean, it's 11:30 to 1:30, so it's like I don't have any expectation of what that show's gonna be. It wasn't too hot, it was a little windy, so I mean, and so yeah, it's a win. I think no matter what, even if I'm playing to nobody. Long drive in the morning, but a few people were there, so it was a good time. And then Leroy that night, it was a little bit slow. There were some bumps here and there, but it was just I haven't thought about this one in a while. I haven't thought about some of these shows in a while. I should, well, that's what happens, I guess, when it takes so long to do a solo podcast, because I like really trying to get back in that headspace of what that show was like. But I think it was one of those that I just kind of humbled me. I think that room humbles me a lot. It's hard to sound good. I think I got some code cracked, and then I'm like, oh, this time it'll be different over there, and then I just can't get it sound quite right. It doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't, and it doesn't, I don't know, a lot of me feels like it's more of a sound issue than it is a performance issue. But the sound, I have to be kind of a sound engineer to do what I do, so that part of me was disappointed that I couldn't get a better sound. But it was, there were some people there having some good time at a certain, like, towards the end. There was a few people, and I don't know. It's just it was one of those nights that was just a little bit rough, just because I was so involved in trying to make it sound better that I couldn't really pay attention to a whole lot else. And I have some of those nights, and that was probably one of them. And then I was at the Decatur Mercy Market. Oh, so this was a double day too. And I was at the Decatur Mercy Market, and it was 10 to 12, and I just did this completely unplugged. It was a hot day too. It was very hot, and I definitely sweat through my clothes a lot of times. But I didn't use any of my PA stuff, so it was like easy in, easy out. I played like the full 2 hours. There were a couple times I had to like get up and stretch my legs. You'd be surprised. I'm sitting on that cajon, even with, I have like 2 different cushions I'm sitting on. Any extended period of time, you like need a break after an hour. Like, there's no question. But I'm a dope and don't do that. So I like get to like that hour and a half mark, and I'm like, well, I guess I need to stand up, because it's like not very comfortable. And so I just played some kind of acoustic tunes. It wasn't super busy, but it's one of those morning shows, so I made a few tips. And there's a weird thing, this lady that was one of the other vendors, she gave me this bracelet, and I'm not a big bracelet guy, but I just put it on, and then I noticed when I was playing guitar, I was like making contact with it, and it was completely unplugged, so it was kind of adding this cool like percussive sound. So I spent a lot of the time like trying to make that work for every song, which to an extent is a mistake, because it didn't work for every song. But the ones that it did, it was pretty cool to have that like extra percussive sound. And then I'm like, oh, I should add this to my setup. This is gonna add one more thing. I was looking for that next thing to make it bigger. And but boy, just those little things that man, you're trying to make the bigger sound, or can be, it's a double-edged sword. If everything's sounding good and you got it dialed in and you're playing well, like, it's great. It's like the best feeling. You sound so big and full. But if you're not at 100%, or your gear is something's not working right, or just weird acoustics, all having so many things, like hunting down the problem becomes the main focus of the evening, and it gets harder to enjoy yourself. So it's like where to draw that line sometimes. I don't know, because I always want to get bigger and sound better and do more. And because if I'm not growing, I kind of just feel like, what am I even doing? So to be able to do like that one more thing, I ended up trying to do that for my second show that day. So I was over at the Lincolnshire Country Club, and this was I don't know, it was like a show booked through a guy that I don't know if he even works there necessarily, but he got me on. And really hot day. It was kind of funny. This happens, silly things like this happen a lot. Like I was talking about when I was in Michigan and it was a hot day. I was like, I could have just carved out an extra 45 minutes to go to the beach. So in this case, I was at a pool, essentially. I was like playing like outside of a pool. And, it just looks so nice to be able to just jump in. But, I'm over there just sweating all over my gear and stuff. But it was a fun show. Like, people were pretty into what I was doing. I kind of got in that mode of just playing song after song after song. I did a lot of covers because, I don't know, there's just something about being at a pool. Like, I feel like you want to hear those, like, I don't know, 90s songs or early 2000s songs. It's nostalgic for me, so I think that kind of translated into, like, my set list a little bit. Just playing some of those. And, looking at the people that were kind of into it, engaging, completely, being prejudiced about what I would think they would like as far as what I can do with my set list. But, it usually works pretty good. There's been times where I've misfired, but when I'm trying to just kind of read the crowd, I can kind of usually guess what. And I mean, I don't know every song and I don't know every genre, so that can be kind of hard at some spots because it's like, I don't think I might know one song that might be like, adjacent to the genre that I would guess these people would like. But, I try it and, throw it at the wall, see what happens. Sometimes I think they just appreciate the effort, even if the song doesn't go great. It's like, at least he tried to hit something but, I could just be projecting. I don't know. It's hard to know where that line is as well. Because, I mean, most people aren't really thinking probably nearly as hard about what I'm doing as I am. But maybe some are, I don't know. But so that was a long day. I was having some car issues that weekend too, so obviously that frustrates everything. It's like, how much is this gonna cost me? It wasn't a lot. So, I had money saved up, kind of anticipating it being something crazier, and it wasn't too bad. So, sometimes that all works out. And then Sunday, I was at this Rivian event. Kyle Yap, he was on the last episode actually, it's kind of a thing that, he had booked solo, but his kid had a baseball game that he wanted to go to. So it's like, if we just split it, everybody kind of wins. And I didn't have any other shows or anything, so I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And it was like a big event. I was kind of surprised at how the scale of it, and it's kind of like a kind of carnival-y. It wasn't. I don't know if they had actual rides. They had a rock wall. I did a video where I was climbing the rock wall on this weekend, and a couple of things like that. Food, some different. They had all the cars out at the Rivian, which was interesting. Kept honking the horns, which was not ideal for music necessarily, but it was cool. And it was a fun, like, I don't know, I just was in a good mood that day. I was like, I think part of it, it was the fifth show in 3 days. So it was like 3 days, 5 shows, and you get to that last one, and it's just like a little, like you're there and you're already set up and you're already ready to go. It's like that that feeling of like, okay, well, I'm pretty much have done the weekend. You know, it was long. There was a lot of planning, a lot of getting from place to place, a lot of forcing myself to, you know, be at a certain place at a certain time to set up for this long, and, you know, logistics of it and driving one show to the next. You know, it can be stressful, obviously, at times, but when you get to that last one, it's just like an extra, like, because you'll get that feeling in other shows once you're there and like in it, but that last one, you know, is you get a little bit extra because you're like, I did it. And that's not to say if it's going poorly, you know, you'll still feel that pretty good, but if it's going decent, you know, that extra bit of like good feeling and endorphins, usually even if you're tired, and, you know, maybe it would normally be the amount of energy you have for like a B minus show, it like brings you up to an A minus because that just that extra. And so it was like Kyle played for maybe like 40 minutes or so, then he took off, and then I played for like 2 hours straight. And the way it was kind of set up was I had like some food over here, so people were just in line the whole time. And the inner, you know, I had my magnets and my stickers and everything and my sign, and, you know, just the inner busker in me, just like I couldn't convince myself to really take a break. I think I took one like 5 minutes, but he was pretty much like, you know, you got to cover like 3 hours, do as much time as you want, do as little time as you want. He wasn't really sure when he would be back, and but I just like couldn't help myself. You know, I got that. That's not something, that weird thing where it's just like, well, you know, just keep playing. You know, keep going. I got the jar out there and everything. So, and I was sounding pretty good. I was having a good time. Saw some people I hadn't seen in a while, and it just felt good. And then after that, I had to rush to Pontiac for my niece's play. So that was of course adorable to go watch that. It's a musical. They did Mary Poppins, and I know I teach her ukulele, so watching her up there singing is always, you know, I kind of help her with her singing a little bit, even though I don't know if I'm the best person to instruct anybody on that, but, you know, I can kind of help, at least I think a little bit maybe, and just so see her up there singing, and I don't know, it's a cool thing. And so yeah, that would have been the Sunday. Had more recording the next week, so I might be conflating the 2 weeks. So the first one was more like the acoustic guitar. So this was the strings one, I guess. And I have a pretty decent cut of that song. So I'm like, I mean, I still gotta re-record the vocals, and because I just did like a quick scratch just to kind of keep me in line for my plan and stuff, so I knew where I was at in the song. But we got all the guitar recorded. We got guitars, I should say, and all the string instruments, and so really I just got vocals and backup vocals, maybe a tiny bit of percussion that we'll add. But he's on vacation, so I I was excited to, you know, get this song out a little sooner, but I have the live, I did the first time I went there, I just did this little, like, I was like in the morning and trying to lay some instruments down for the newer song. I was like, well, you know, I'm here, like, maybe I'll just do a little warm up in the studio. So I did a few songs and recorded them on my phone with a nice camera and everything, and so, you know, I got those to release soon. I'm calling them, I think I'm just calling it the Bomb Site Sessions or something like that. I don't really know, but so that's coming together. I got a couple like little artwork things, and that Ryan Wolf helped me with a little bit, and some pictures I took, and so the songs are going to be done quite as soon as I would like, but the sessions they're pretty much already out on YouTube. I just have to, I'm going to release them for Spotify and all that. So But yeah, so that was that Monday, and the following Friday I was at Cruisin's in War Memorial, and that was a show that I had just gotten. I think that was when I just got the new pedal, so I played. It was this. It's the Infinite sample. I can't remember the exact name, blanking on it, but it's very cool, and posted some videos of me using it and stuff. So that night was a lot of experimenting with that pedal and kind of seeing what I could use it for and get away with, and it's just something new to add. Like I was saying, I'm always looking for that. And you like hit this, you hit a chord with your pedals and stuff, so it already has kind of your at least my kind of tone, and then it like takes the after the attack part of it and just like fills it out with some reverb, and then it's like a a little loop that just samples infinitely. And so yeah, I just got to play around with that, so that was pretty cool. And you get some air balls when you're doing that, but that pedal's pretty straightforward, and it just adds like a nice like epicness to the song. The problem is when you're trying to change keys, or I do a lot of medley, so there are some issues where, like, I do a Johnny Cash medley, and the first one's in G major. The second one, I Walk the Line, is it changes keys like 3 times. It changes 3 different keys and then changes back. So I guess it's 6. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5 key changes, and you got this like little walk leading line. I'm sure you've heard Walk the Line. So it doesn't really work very good for that medley, but so finding those little things out, where it fits in, kind of was the name of the game this weekend. And there were some really, really cool moments with it that I was really excited about the way it sounded. And the crowd was decent. It was kind of a standard cruising show, and I don't know, towards the end I was feeling like there wasn't a lot of people there, but there's this one table that seemed like they weren't listening, but one of the guys came up after and said some really, really nice things. I was like, man, I should have been like more focused. I kind of felt bad almost, but he said, he really enjoyed it and everything. But it's like, I was like feeling like, I can just kind of do whatever, and nobody's really paying attention. But he was saying like, he needed to come out and be around some music. He was a singer himself, and but so it's like a kind of maybe a great power, great responsibility kind of thing. Like I probably should have maybe taken, but at the same time, it was like he was saying how much he enjoyed it. So I don't know, but it was fun. It was a good one. And the next night was the Cellar in Pontiac, and this was the first time I'd been there in a while, and it was a very fun show. After I had a Good Friday show, and then so I felt pretty solid. I had the new pedal, and I was just like, I'm gonna try everything. I hadn't really done that yet, because Friday night I kind of just wanted to try that pedal by itself and see kind of how it would function in the rest of it. The rest of the pedals set up with because I have the organ pedal, and so that adds a whole nother layer, and there's 2 different kind of sounds I get from that organ, which is a lot to control with your feet, because I already have like some boosts and stuff, and I'm setting the song up with the Infinite sampler. But anyway, I digress. I was like, it's outside, hometown show. I wasn't sure if there's gonna be a lot of people, so I was just like, I'm just gonna, my mom came, of course, so that was nice, but I wasn't sure who else was gonna show up, and she actually brought a lot of people, and at the beginning part, I really needed that kind of. It was kind of slim, but towards about halfway through, it got pretty busy, and it was a lot of people I knew, some old friends, and my brother, and some of his friends that I'm friends with also, and yeah, so it just turned out to be a pretty fun night. It got actually even busier kind of towards the end. There was like a bar crawl that kind of people hopped over from, and I felt like I sounded pretty good. I was having a lot of fun. I might have been overdoing it on the pedals a little bit, but I'm just pushing them to the limit. I was recording the whole thing so I could kind of watch back and decide what I liked and what I didn't like, and there were some cool moments for sure, but I was feeling pretty good. And then I went in and I kind of told a story about, it was like my third set. So I kind of told the story about this one of my newer singles called "Will Magic Find Me," and so that song, I was feeling kind of pretty down when I wrote that. I don't know if you haven't listened, it's a pretty sad song. At least there's a little hope in it. I'm not saying it's all sad, but anyhow, I was kind of telling the story about how I wrote that song. It's called "Will Magic Find Me," and I was feeling really, really dark and down and kind of, well, maybe one of my lower points in my whole life. And so I'd heard about how you can, maybe microdose with some mushrooms to maybe alleviate some of that depression. And yeah, I've kind of messed around with that before, but this time I was just like, I'm gonna be a lot more like disciplined with it, and I was gonna try it. And what happened was, the first time I did it, I hadn't written a song in maybe a year or something, like nothing good anyway. And I just wrote that song all in one night, in one setting, and I recorded like a kind of a demo the next day, and and it's called "Will Magic Find Me." Obviously, it was kind of inspired by that. Just the overall thought of it, like, will this help me? will the magic mushrooms help me? But anyway, the answer is yes. I think they definitely pulled me out of something there for a while when I did it, and I was kind of a little bit, religious about, the dosage and how often I took it, and I think it really did help quite a bit and kind of pulled me out of a dark place. So, I told that story, and I don't think I'd ever really said it out loud to very many people, and I kind of got emotional. Like, that's not something that really happens to me a lot at shows, where I get kind of like caught up in it. I don't know if there's some other things that going on, maybe that kind of I've been a little rough around the edges lately, so I don't know if that was, and it was just like the mixture of like, I felt like I was sounding pretty good with it, and telling the story and just being really connected to the song. It kind of choked me up, and it was really uncomfortable. Honestly, it was like I was very vulnerable, and at a certain point that kind of takes away from the performance in my head, because I'm like not hitting my notes right and stuff, and it kind of like caught me off guard, and so that was weird. And then I did after that, I was like, all right, well, let's change the vibe here a little bit, maybe do something a little more upbeat. And I have this medley I do, and I mix it up. I don't always do the same, but usually goes something like Tyler Childers' All Yourn, into Ho Hey by the Lumineers, into Home by Philip Phillips. So, kind of all kind of lovey-dovey kind of songs. And what was Meet Me at Our Spot, Real Love by Mary. I've been doing that one a lot, just kind of throwing it in because it kind of fits the key and everything, as it was Harry Styles. I don't think I ended that one. Sometimes I end it with Sweet Dreams, but I didn't that time. But it was like those first like 4 songs, I was still getting all choked up. And I don't know, it's just like so connected to I was like thinking about the words too hard or something, I don't know. But again, it was uncomfortable but it was maybe a little too emotional. I don't really get like that very often, so it was just caught me off guard. It was a weird spot, but I kind of pulled myself out of it and got back to, and everybody was dancing and singing at the end, and I even played longer than I probably should have, and I played that new song I've been talking about. I played for my brother and a couple of his friends that I'm also friends with, the Rain Bolts, and yeah, it was just a good night all around. I felt pretty high up after that. I don't know, it was a little overexpressed maybe, but it was a good one. And then that following Friday, I was at Door 4 Brewing in Decatur, and it was a good show. It was 6 to 9, kind of early. Wasn't really sure. I'd never done this spot. It was kind of slow a little bit because there was a bunch of events going on in town, but the people that were there were fun, so that's all you need. And it was really hot. I remember like one of the things was like our air conditioner wasn't really keeping up with the heat because it was like a heat wave, and so that makes everything just like a little more hard to get up for and like go force yourself to do things. And when I got there though, it was pretty cold in the actual building of Door 4, and it was very like refreshing, like I needed it almost, and felt really nice. So that was cool. And then I played the Bloomington Farmers Market the next morning, and that went really well. I don't know, it just felt pretty solid. Morning shows, they're always harder. I mean, there's no question, always harder. But sometimes you can get yourself there in the morning, and I felt like I did, and wasn't really having to hold it. Sometimes, you're trying to, like, I don't know what my voice can even do, so it's like you try to hold back certain songs maybe and have kind of a different set list of what you think you can do. But after the first 30 songs, or not 30, first 3 or 4 songs, I was feeling good, so I just could pick whatever I wanted, and I ended up playing a lot of originals, and it was a pretty cool morning. My camera kind of didn't work. That was kind of a bummer because I was like excited to have some of those clips, but I did get some good ones at the night show, which was I was opening for Drew Cagle and The Reputation at the District in Rock Falls, little amphitheater thing in their park, and it was a fun show. It was nice. They had like professional sound and everything, which is weird for me because that doesn't really happen a lot, and I don't know that I did good. I did good this time. Sometimes I think I struggle with that, with the professional sound and just being so foreign, I guess, because every time you go to a place like that, it's going to be different. They have different everything, different speakers, different mixers, different engineers, different, it's just, and I guess if you're maybe one of those golden musicians that, make all that money, you can just go anywhere and sound great anywhere. But sometimes I definitely I struggle at those but part of it was I've been using my in-ears. I've been doing the 1 in, 1 out method, and that seemed to do the trick. I think hearing yourself in those situations sometimes is a struggle because it's just like a lot of miscommunication. Like, you don't know how to talk. Like, if you have your own sound person, you can just be like, hey, I need more vocals, I need to sound this way. But at a certain point, they just kind of know what you like, and they can, even if you're in a different sound setup, there's so many different levels to that, where it's like, the super legit people that, are touring the country have like their same sound engineers that they always have. They have the same gear that they always have. Everything's the same, so you get so used to that it's probably can maybe get a little bit more comfortable sometimes in those situations because you're you know, it's a different space, so acoustically it will sound a little different. But if you have good engineers, I mean, they usually know how to deal with it. So for me, doing my sound all the time and then going to, it's just different, you know, so that difference is A, a little nerve-wracking at points, but B, you just never know. You never know if it's even going to be good gear, if it's going to be a good engineer, if maybe their engineer is a great engineer, but he has a different sound aesthetic than you have. He doesn't really know what you're shooting for, doesn't really know what you sound like, unless they like, you know, sometimes they'll do their homework and they'll kind of, but anyhow, this one was a good situation, and I wore the in-ear, and I feel like that was the right move. I did feel a little extra adrenaline. I've been really trying to kind of taper, because one of my biggest struggles, I think, as a musician is I get a little excited. You know, I'm playing live. I want to go balls to the wall. But what happens is, you know, I struggle with some tempos. You know, I do stuff too fast a lot, and I kind of will gradually speed up sometimes, or like, you know, sometimes it's very intentional that I do that. But anyhow, I've been really like conscious of my tempos lately, and I feel like it's kind of been paying off. I've been more on top of it, and I did feel a little bump in the adrenaline as well. I was kind of getting at, you know, because it was kind of a big space to fill, and it's a good crowd, very, very nice crowd. I mean, wasn't super busy at first, but as the night went on, it got pretty busy, and I played like that, you know, the best hours of the night, the sunset hours, and it's right on the river up there, and it was just like a really good experience. And I played all originals. I was like trying to challenge myself to do that, because there was no reason not to, you know. Sometimes I fall in that trap of like trying to please everybody else, that I forget, like, I could just do an hour of all originals, no problem. And if I do them well, people will still like them. But it's like, you know, I'll see like a group of people, and I'll be like, you know, I bet that they would like some Journey, Don't Stop Believing. It's like I would win them over immediately, and then I'd be kind of stuck in that loop of like trying to do stuff and then maybe sneak an original in, like, oh, this is a song I wrote. Maybe you'll like this as good as the other songs that I've been playing, and sometimes that works really nice. But having that confidence to just go up there and like play all originals, you know, it's hard for me to wrap my head around. Hour, not too tough, because you get into that 3-4 hour though, and then you pretty much have to play covers. And anyhow, I'm getting off topic, but so yeah, I played all originals, and it was they all sounded pretty good. I was a little extra juiced because it was a big stage, and you know, Drew and those guys I've known for a long time at this point, maybe like a year or something, and they've always been super nice, super cool fellas, and it was cool to get to see them play after too. I kind of brought the house down, and yeah, I don't know. It's always good catching up, because I feel like Drew has like it's funny because we have completely different perspectives on some stuff, but I recognize that he has like vision, you know. He has like in drive, like he's recording down in Nashville right now, and you know, he's really going for it. You know, I can appreciate that. I feel like I know some musicians that just kind of play, and that's great. I mean, you should be able to just play, but I'm always, you know, trying to get to that next level. Now, like I'm saying, like his and I approaches are a lot different as far as the way he goes about it, but it's always just cool to have like a good talk with somebody like that when they're like kind of on the same wave. It's weird. It's like we're two sides of the same coin, I guess, because he has a good hustle. I like it, and just catching up, see what else, because he, you know, he's always doing a bunch of stuff that's pretty cool. He was telling me about it, recording down in Nashville, and it was a pretty crazy story. I was hoping to get him on here at some point, but again, that's kind of where we might defer. He doesn't really like the kind of DIY stuff quite as much, but he said maybe, he'll think about it. So maybe I can convince him. But anyway, they've always been great and they're fun to watch, and I was really appreciative to be invited and thought of at all for that. So that was kind of a summer highlight, I think, for me. And then we're at the last weekend here. So this was a rough weekend. I don't think. Well, okay, so this is how it started. I played the 12 Bar, awesome place. Really like playing there. The atmosphere is cool. It's kind of like upper scale, kind of classy bar. I serve food to a third floor, so it's like a rooftop bar. Obviously, that makes it a struggle to load in and load out. But, it's like, whatever. I like it, and I'll just get there early. And I got there really early, and I set everything up, and I thought it was gonna be this nice, and it was pretty casually. I didn't like, usually I'm, just trying to get stuff started on time, so I'm just frantically playing. So it was, I took my time, and I was a little early, but then like I held off on the sound check, and when I was like 10 minutes till I play, I get ready to play, and the microphone, because I did like a little tap test on it, I was like, oh, here, good, must be working. And then bad cable, so it was like when the signal wasn't coming in full-fledged, so it was like super quiet. So you have a decision to make. Do I just crank it, which I already keep it pretty cranked on the way I run it, and I just don't really know that was gonna do it. It was really gonna compete. So I was like, all right, well, run all the way back down, and then got all the way back up and sound checked, and got started. It was fine. I had a pedal go out on me almost immediately. I kept breaking strings anytime I would get, because the weather, I changed my strings pretty regularly, like usually before every show, and sometimes, which I think is pretty extreme for most guitar players, but I think once you're playing 3-4 hour sets in the summertime, like you almost can't get around it, because those strings just get so sweaty and disgusting, and it just, I don't know, like I like the way a new set of strings feels and sounds, and it's like everybody's aesthetic's different. I think there's a lot of guitar players that kind of prefer that kind of used feeling of the strings, but I like that crisp niceness. But also, if you change the set of strings, you're quite a bit less likely to break a string. And the weather was so bad, and I think I waited maybe one show too long on these strings, and I had a bunch of backups, and I think my thinking was I just want to get there early enough to get everything sounding good. So anyway, changing a string every few songs essentially, and I think I changed 5 ultimately, like all said and done, 5 strings. And so almost a whole set of guitar strings in one night. And that was the worst show, for that. I haven't had a show like that in a really long time. And, I've gotten to the point where, like, when it's like that, I usually can, taper back my playing. Like, I can be like, oh, I'll just play a little easier. I think the in-ears kind of make that tougher, because I don't have like an actual monitor, and the only thing going through my ears is the vocals. So, to hear my guitar, it's up here, so I think I play a little bit harder sometimes than if I had like an actual floor monitor, a little bit of signal in the ear. But anyway, so, just breaking strings, kind of like every few songs, changing, and I was like being really stubborn. I didn't want to grab my other guitar because I had a show the next morning, and I wanted to have that as my back. It's such a convoluted system I have, but I could have just grabbed that guitar and maybe it would have been fine. Maybe because it rained. I mean, the weather was changing quite a bit while I was playing. It started really hot, and then it rained, like it sprinkled a little bit. not enough for me to stop. I kept thinking, like, should I end the song and, try to head for cover, but I never really did. So, I mean, that was another thing that made that show a little bit of a struggle, was the rain, and then pedal go out, cable go out, breaking strings, but it got to the end, and I just kind of had this, part, it was like the last half hour, and I broke the last string, so the fifth string, and I was like, I could open a whole set of strings and then have a set that is, I can't really, I don't know if this is my OCD or what, but I wouldn't feel right to put one string on. Even if I changed all the other ones to that same pack the next day, it would kind of bug me a little bit. Again, that's a little just OCD thing, I think, because I don't think it really matters. There is something to the idea, I think, that if you break one string, your tension is a little offset, and the gauges of the strings that you're replacing might not be the same. Sometimes it'd be off a little bit, and I think you tend to break like if you break one on a guitar and you don't change the whole set, there's like a higher, at least in my experience, maybe it's just anecdotal, I don't know, but it seems like if you break one, you're more likely to break that second one, and then in my case, all the way to the fifth. But anyway, so I broke I think it was the G. It's always the G string, and I was like, okay, so I could open up a pack, put another string on for the fifth time. I could go get the other guitar. That would, to get that changed over, that'd be like, probably at least 5 minutes. And then you're down to the last 25 minutes, and you're kind of working through those first few songs to get that guitar dialed in, because of course every guitar has a little bit different sound and feel, and so you can't just unplug one and plug in another. I mean, some people may, but for me, my guitars are almost the exact same. They're two of the they're these black Martin kind of satin finish, not plexiglass, I can't remember. Anyway, they're the same, but body's thickness, but it's more about the preamp, I think. They have different preamps, so they just really don't sound anything alike. So, be uncomfortable for the last 25 minutes, or it would have been 25 at that point. Or, the alternative is try to figure out how to play all my songs without a G. And so that's the route I went. I don't know if it was the right route, but definitely made it more interesting. I had to focus a little extra hard, but it was like a little game. I had because some songs really rely on that for like the melody. So then it's like, well, how could I play this on the B string instead of the G, or how can I play this on the D? Trying to figure out different spots, and the chording becomes weird sometimes too, especially because I use a bass pedal which just doubles the lowest string I'm playing as the bass note an octave lower, and it sends it to a separate signal, so you can control that kind of, but you have to adjust how you're playing anyway. So I'm playing these songs, but then I'm missing a string. Maybe it's the major third, which is like the third, the major third, minor third of the chords, and I have to chord them in very specific ways with the bass pedal to get that. Of course, I could have just turned the bass pedal off and just done it, but I just thought it was kind of maybe a little interesting to see what I could do with just 5 strings, and there were some hiccups for sure. I definitely missed some things, and but it was just it was kind of a fun way to, I guess, nerd out a little bit theory-wise and guitar player-wise. But and you're picking your songs different too. You're limited, because if you're playing like one of the songs, I usually, if I'm doing some covers, I like to throw towards the end as "Come Together" by the Beatles. But it's like, if you're missing that G, you just shouldn't even play it, kind of. You'd have to really think that out on how to play that a different way. But anyway, at least the way I play. But anyhow, so changing the set list around to kind of adapt. But ultimately, it was fine. I had a lot of good compliments, a lot of good people in the crowd that said very, very kind things, and I felt undeserving, of course, but I was very appreciative of getting that good feedback to kind of. If it would have just went that way and it didn't get good feedback, I would have probably had I would have been a little down for the whole night after that. But worked out good. And then that Saturday, I had 2 shows. I had the Vine Street Market, which is always just this wild adventure because it's down by St. Louis. So, and I got to be there by 8 if I want to start by 9. So I was up at 4:30 in the morning and driving. And, it's almost 2 a.m. right now. So these are my normal hours. Like, I just got done with my workout. I'm going to eat dinner after this. It's almost 2 in the morning. So those wake up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready to leave try to get out the door by 5, which of course is not enough time. 5:15 probably, and get there by 8, get all set up and play. It's always just like a wild position I put myself in, but I'm compulsive. I think I can't turn things down, and I know the people down there. They're fun. They're good. There's a watermelon eating contest there. That was pretty exciting. But anyway, so I got there and long drive, and it's pretty nice out. The watermelon thing took up a good portion of my set, but that's fine. It wasn't the most amazing show, but it's just like it's such a weird, like, to expect it to be would be pretty wild because almost no sleep. I should go to bed earlier, but these are just the hours I've kind of gotten accustomed to. But I think I slept a couple hours. I was probably up till almost 2 that night, and then got up at 4:30, and I don't think I even slept well because I knew I had to get up so quick from when I lay down, and then to drive 2.5 hours, unload all my stuff in the heat and expect it to go as good as my normal shows. Like, I think I kind of realized that that's not. So I was just happy with whatever happened, and it was fun. And seeing some of those people that are nice enough to have me down there and are very generous with their attention and time and put the whole thing together, and so that was pretty cool. The Gilman show that night, this last Saturday night, again, it was the double, so I was a little worn out. So I think that probably came into effect a little bit, but it was just like, I had in my head, it was like a 2-hour set, 7:30, 9:30, and I was like, I'm gonna just try to whale them with originals, because kind of more of a listening room vibe, but I was just trying to get my confidence up to kind of do that and cover 2 hours with my all originals. And of course, I always play the first 2 are pretty much always original that I play, just to kind of get my feels, get warmed up. They're kind of the songs that are easy to sing, good warm-up songs in my set, but still songs that I love to play. And it kind of helps me dial in the sound and the feel, get my ears kind of dialed in as well to the room and everything. So I play those 2 songs almost every set. And I don't think it's I don't have a lot of people that maybe are there that early most of the time for these longer sets I play. So it's not, I don't think it's annoying necessarily to almost, sometimes I'll change it up a little bit, or if it's like the second show in a day. But usually if it's a longer set, 3-4 hours, it's the only show that day, I'll use those few songs to kind of get my bearings, get my voice all kind of cracked up to where it needs to be, and get the sound dialed in, because I know how those should sound very, very well. And right away I was having these, it was just like I was having to clear my throat constantly, which was just it was just a weird feeling. I don't know if it was storming really bad. I drove in the rain that morning so not only was it a 2.5 hour drive, probably turned into almost 3, And I was running a little later than I should have been because of that. There was times where I was driving like 45 on the interstate, and I kept expecting that, the next show would be a little bit different, but it rained on the way from O'Fallon to Gilman. So, but I had a lot of time because I actually did stop at home. So I drove all the way back, stopped at home, got a shower in, which was a good call. But, I went to and it rained like the whole drive there, the whole drive home. But I had a lot of time to set up. So I was like, it's just acoustic. So, my shows kind of got easier and easier because the 12 bar that weekend was up, 3 floors. And so I had to get all my gear in an elevator and go and then walk all the way. It was a big, long setup process. Lots of technical difficulties. And then the crazy drive and the one-man band for both of those. And then this was supposed to be like the easy one because I didn't have to provide my own sound, which for all the reasons I talked about earlier can be a struggle, but at least I'm doing the sound, so I'm in a little bit more control. I used the in-ears, so I was like, I'm not even gonna need floor monitors, easy setup, but such a tight space over there. It was kind of, somehow I still got all sweaty setting up. Their air conditioner was out too. Wasn't very busy, and I played those songs that I was talking about for the first couple, and I'm getting like these weird throat phlegms. I don't know what you'd call them, but it's like, you go to sing a note and it just kind of chokes out and you just kind of fall flat and it just feels uncomfortable. I watched the videos because I did do a video of the set, and you can't totally notice it, but in my mind at that moment, it's like, oh, what's going on? Why, I feel like everybody's staring at me. They know that something's weird. My voice sounds funny. I get that kind of anxiety-filled feeling when you're performing, especially in kind of more of a listening room. And then I'm like, oh, this person probably is mad they booked me. I don't know, it sounded good, and it wasn't very busy. And there was like all these things in my head. So of course I caved. I went to a lot of covers. I did my Beatles medley. That always, if I'm ever, worried about sound or the way my voice is, or I know that if I lean on the Beatles, you can't really, there's not a lot of people that are I hate these Beatles songs. So I can I can play those, and they're fun. They're fun songs to play, and I do the medley, so it was like kind of being nerdy and how to transition from like the key different, like transpose them all to the same key, or like if there is a key change going to a different, like what's the best way to transition, and that stuff's all fun. And I've added a couple new Beatles songs to that, and now I get to the point with that one, I think I can kind of just either shorten the song to get to the next one, or if I want to skip and kind of edit in real time. I'll get caught up doing that sometimes where it's like I'm trying to, but a lot of times I'm just in that flow where it's like, all right, well, these people seem kind of over this, and I don't know if they're gonna like the next one I'm gonna do, so let's skip to the third one and see how that. But so yeah, I started leaning on those covers. It was a fine show. I had an expectation. That's usually the first problem with a lot of things. I'm excited to play at that place because a couple of my in-town role models, I'd say musically, played there pretty frequently. So I'm like, I should go there and do all. I build it up in my head, and then wasn't super busy, and I felt like the best way to, because I'm providing a service to the bar. Ultimately, I'm trying to entertain people there drinking. It's that fight of, I still played probably not quite half, but at least a solid 45 of originals. But and I got kind of more confident as the night went on, and got a little more loose with everything. But in playing in that acoustic fashion, because I usually can, I don't know, I usually am like, oh, this will be easy to play acoustic, and then I have all the toys to hide behind maybe, and then I feel a little more self-conscious, especially if my voice isn't cooperating. And even at the end of the night, I was still like, but I started like doing it to the beat. Like I was like, like trying to clear my throat, so it wasn't maybe so obnoxious. But I was having to do that all night. It was so weird. It's one of those things that you couldn't have expected. I probably should have made some tea, but I wasn't having any problems like that earlier. So it makes me think that the weather changed and the air conditioner being out, so they had the door opened and just like it was really breezy outside. Maybe it was drying me out a little. I don't know, but it was weird. So maybe not my favorite performance, but hopefully they'll have me back. I mean, the people there were pretty excited about the covers I was doing, I think. So I would hope they'd have me back, but if not, you just roll with the punches anyway, right? Like you just gotta not take it personally and just move on to the next place that will house you for the evening. I'm very grateful that I've been able to have a very flourishing summer. This has been, it feels like it's come to the end, like this is the culmination, because we're getting into that school's about to start, so getting to that time of year is kind of makes me kind of think of the summer as like a thing that already happened. Still kind of in it. Still going to be hot August is usually one of the hottest months, so it's still going to feel like summer, but my mind might be a little bit outside of that. But good summer. It's been fun. It's been a lot of shows, a lot of craziness all over the place. And, I try to keep in mind that, it's wild to even have the opportunity, even if I, can't do this forever, that I've been able to, it seems like a trick, that I can trick people into paying me to play music. It's kind of wild that, not to say that there aren't struggles, there are, getting to places, doing the sound, all those extra things, but ultimately when you like boil it down, it feels like even if the show goes terribly, I still show up on time, usually, most of the time, and I do the job. Even if I feel like it was one of my worst shows, it's still the job, I still go there and I get paid to play music, and there are so many other ways that are worse. So even when I have a weekend like this last one, that was a little bit tough. I really try to focus on that part of it, where it's like, maybe some of these people won't have me back next year, but there'll be some places that will, I'll just keep at it. It's a compulsion. Like I can't really stop. I don't know how to stop. But anyway, it's a good time. It's good stories, good experiences. And I'm really excited about the new song that I'm working on, the Bomb Site Sessions. You'll see me posting about that stuff probably a lot. But anyhow, this is a long one. If anybody made it this far, I'm super impressed. But I appreciate you. I appreciate anybody who does anything to support me in any fashion. And I'm very lucky in a lot of ways. And I try to keep that at the forefront of my mind. And yeah, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next time.